Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shila Varshati Vatena Hanyamanam Achetanam Niriksha Bhagavan Mene Kupitendra Kritam Hari Shila Varsati Vatena Hanyamanam Achetanam Niriksha Bhagavan Mene Kupitendra Kritam Hari Shila Varshati Vatena Hanyamanam Achetanam Niriksha Bhagavan Mene Kupitendra Kritam Hari. Kritam Hari Shila Varshati Vatena Hanyamanam Achetasam Riksha Bhagavan Mene Kupitena Kritam Hari Hatena Anamachetasam Bhagavan Mene Kena Kritam Hari. Ladies, Shila Varshati Vatena Hanyamanam Achetanam Niriksha Bhagavan Mene Kipitena Hayam Hari. Shila of hailstones, Varsha by the rain, Ativatena by the extreme wind, Hanyamanam being attacked, Achetanam unconscious, Niriksha seeing, Bhagavan the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mene considered, Kupita angry, Indra by Indra, Kritam done, Hari Lord Hari. Okay. Translation, 10th Canto, Chapter 25, verse 14. Seeing the inhabitants of Gokula rendered practically unconscious by the onslaught of hail and blasting wind, the Supreme Lord Hari understood that this was the work of angry Indra. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the severe distress Indra apparently inflicted upon the residents of Vrindavan was an arrangement made by Sri Krishna's pastime potency to enhance the loving dealings between the residents and the Lord. The Acharya gives the analogy that for a hungry person, the pain of hunger increases the happiness he feels when he finally eats excellent food. Thus, hunger can be said to enhance the pleasure of eating. Similarly, the residents of Vrindavan, although not experiencing ordinary material anxiety, felt a type of distress at the activities of Indra and thus intensified their meditation on Krishna. When the Lord finally acted, the result was wonderful. Om Gana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshura Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sadrajatam Sahagana Raghunath Tanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Namo Mahavadanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gora Tushe Namaha. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Desatarane Anchakalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Tat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dina Tarane. All right, thank you all for coming. Thank Gauranga for inviting me. Give me a little mercy of good association. This prayer, Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Tat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dina Tarane, that means that by the mercy of the spiritual master, a lame man can climb a mountain, or a blind man can see stars in the sky, or a dumb man can speak eloquently. So that word dumb, it means deaf, or can't talk, deaf and dumb. But in America, generally dumb means stupid, no intelligence. That's the general dumbbell use, dumb. So hopefully by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and all of you, I can speak something. It's a nice example here that the residents of Vrindavan, they don't normally experience any kind of material distress. So Krishna arranges it so they can have more greater pleasure, and intensely pray to Him. So all these things that happen in Vrindavan, all the demons coming, it's all Krishna's pastimes to intensify the devotees' love for Krishna. And then we're meant to also understand that like Kunti said, that when trouble comes in, we always remember Krishna, so let there be more trouble. Does anybody here know what hailstones are? Somebody from the north, right? Normally water comes down, right? Wet. But sometimes it's very cold up high and then it forms into stones. And sometimes they're like big as a golf ball. And they come crashing down. Usually there's a very big wind. Every once in a while in Mayapur they have a big storm. And they blowing and they break windows and And they break car windows coming down so hard. But these were much bigger. Described, they were not only, they were chunks of ice coming, big chunks, not just golf balls. So it's quite a distress, besides the huge wind and the flooding everywhere. So everybody panicked, but they just depend on Krishna. They just cry out to Krishna to help them. And then Krishna helps them. And that's the case with everyone. If we, so devotees welcome suffering, actually. It's inconceivable, but that's why this, in the material world, happiness and sukhi and dukkhi is only meant that sukhi means somehow or other the dukkhi is relieved for some few minutes or few, whatever. The hunger, a very hungry person, there's a proverb that the best appetite, the best spice is hunger. And we put spice in the food to make it taste better, but if you're not hungry, nothing tastes good. And if you eat anyway, you get sick. But if you're very, very hungry, then anything tastes good. I've seen. I saw in Japan a few times these homeless men, and one man, he had his head in the garbage can with the chopsticks. Another one, that the restaurants put out the bags, of all the leftover stuff late at night. And then the guy is digging in the bag and the rat is eating on the bottom of the bag. But he's so hungry that it tastes good. Anything tastes good. But like myself, nothing really tastes good because I never get hungry. People offer food, that's karma. Some people, they're always hungry, but they don't get much. And other people are never hungry, they can't eat anyway, and they get lots of food. Right? You don't know why these things are happening. But this way we should welcome distress. And that, remember, it makes us pray more intensely. When something is very difficult, I think we've all experienced, we pray more. We should be praying for anything, even if we're just cleaning the floor. We should be praying to Krishna, please let me do this nicely. But at least if we do something difficult, even all the motivation people, they say, get out of your safety zone, they call it, try to do something more difficult, like book distribution, for instance. Generally, we have to pray. We all learn that we cannot depend on our own, expert talking or our own good looks or, whatever. Ultimately, we have to pray to Krishna to help these people. We have to fall. We have to become desperate. And that has to be for everything, for chanting the holy name, for hearing Srimad Bhagavatam class, that Krishna will give us, and to speak, what to speak of speaking. We need to pray to Krishna, please, help me, because Krishna will speak through, he will use us. Krishna tells Arjuna, nimitta matram, become an instrument, let me use you in service. And that's we have to give up. The Christians at one church I pass in Singapore, it's near our temple, they put out their different slogans. So one time it said, let go and let God. In other words, give up your false ego. Quit thinking you're the doer. Let God take over, right? And another time it said, melt me, mold me, and use me. Like you would take, like you're some kind of putty or wax or something. So let Krishna melt you down and make you into something, and then use you for some good purpose, for spreading the holy name. Krishna will do that. He's doing it for all of us to whatever degree we can give up the false ego, whatever degree we can just fully depend on Krishna. Then we see miraculous things like the Goswamis. Now today, Would you like to hear about these Goswami? I know you've all heard before, but two Raghunath Bhatt and Raghunath Das, and Krishnadas Kaviraj, all disappearance day, the same day. So that's interesting. It wasn't the same year. Raghunath Das was senior. And then Raghunath Bhatta was quite younger. And Krishnadas Kaviraj was older, but he lived longer. So Raghunath Das first, then Raghunath Bhatta, I don't know which order comes in, but one of them, on the observation of the disappearance day, his feelings of separation became so intense that he left his body. And then the Krishnadas Kaviraj, same thing. And the feelings of separation from the Goswamis became so intense that he left his body on that day. So that's some example, like Narottam is saying in the Jayanilo Premadana, I'll beat my head against the stones, where have they gone, we can't live without them. This is the feeling we should have. And also when we hear about the pastimes of these great devotees and their accomplishments, then that may keep us a little humble. Otherwise we might think, well, I'm doing pretty good. I'm a good devotee. I distributed some books today, or I gave a class and somebody said it was okay, right? But if we really compare ourselves to these great devotees, and this is recommended, seek out, association more advanced than you, more so that we can strive to come up. So Raghunath Das is quite famous. He was the son of the richest man in Bengal, and the nephew, the only boy child in the family. So he was meant to inherit everything from the father and the uncle. But from an early age, during one Chaturmasya, Haridas Thakur stayed in his village and was always talking about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Raghunath became totally attached to Lord Chaitanya, and he didn't have any aspiration or any enthusiasm for the material business. He just wanted to join Lord Chaitanya. So when he got a little older and they wanted him to, work in the business, he was always trying to run away and join Lord Chaitanya. But his father, being a very big man, he had people all around. He could always catch him, bring him back. They tried everything. They got him married to a most beautiful woman, described. He didn't care about that. The mother was saying, you have to tie him up. Father said, if this beautiful wife won't keep him home, the ropes aren't going to work. It's not going to keep him either. Finally, Lord Chaitanya told him, just be a good boy and, do your family business, and I'll make some arrangement for you in due course of time. So he took that order and he did everything. So one time he visited Nityananda when Nityananda was at Panihati, surrounded by his associates. And Raghunath came there, and from a distance he paid obeisances. And someone noted to Nityananda, there's Raghunath paying obeisances. He said, bring him here. Why are you staying so far away? He said. So Raghunath came. Nityananda said, this is not good that you stayed far away, so you have to have some punishment. You have to make a big festival, a big feast for everybody. So he was happy with that, and he went out and he got thousands of big clay pots, and he got chipped rice, and he got kheer, and he got yogurt and other things. And everybody got 2 pots, 1 kheer, 1 yogurt, and chipped rice, and everyone was feasting. And more, when they heard about it, thousands, hundreds of thousands, even now when the devotees do that festival, hundreds of thousands of people come to Panihati. It's not a big place, They were sitting in the river, in the Ganga, and there was no room. And then when he left there, Nityananda, at the time he came forward, Nityananda put both feet on his head. So that was the benediction, that he's liberated. He can get away from family life, right? Kabe Nityananda more kore, chare be more visharamaya, diya more nija charanara chaya. When you get the mercy of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, then you get out of Maya, get free. Then Namarahatete Divyadikar. Then you can become empowered to participate in the Namhata, the distribution of the holy name, the marketplace of the holy name. So he left a lot of gold also for Lord Nityananda and for all his associates, and sneaked away. Then it came to pass that the family Acharya came. I think his name was Yadunandan, and he said one Pujari had blooped, he went away or something, and he wanted Raghunath to come with them to bring him back. So they went, and I guess he'd gone home or whatever, they got him to agree to go back. And it was nighttime, and Raghunath said, I can find my way home alone, you don't have to come with me. So nobody was suspicious because he'd gone off with the family Acharya, and he left. He left for Jagannath Puri. But he didn't go on the main road, he went on the back roads, so it took longer. Father sent the chokidars or whatever. They got all the way to Puri, but they never found him. So they didn't know what happened. A few days later, he showed up in Puri. He'd been traveling like really long and fasting, and Lord Chaitanya was very happy to see him. And he put him under the care of Swarup Damodar Goswami, so they were constant associates. So his life, so much, but so his father found out, but he knew he couldn't get him back, so he would send money every month. And maybe even send some servants, and take care of his son. So for a while he was taking that money and he was arranging feasts, for the devotees and having Lord Chaitanya for prasadam. But then he thought, it's not good to take money from the materialistic people. I have to stop it. So he stopped taking the money. So after a while, then he wasn't arranging his prasadam anymore. Lord Chaitanya asked Swarup Damodar, what's going on? He said, well, he had this realization that he shouldn't take money from the materialistic people. So now first he was just begging outside the temple when all the pandas come out, and they all have, you've seen if you've been to Puri, everyone has their pot of prasadam, depending on their position, sometimes very big, sometimes small. And he would beg and get enough. Then he thought, this is not good either. It's like a prostitute. Because I think, here comes this one. Yesterday he gave me something nice, so maybe he'll give me again. And he thought, this is not good. So he just started going to Food for Life and standing in line, with the really down and out beggars. Then he didn't even like that, and he would go behind where they drainage and get the old rice that even smelled bad, even cows wouldn't eat it, wash it off, and he was eating that. So Lord Chaitanya found out, so he went. He said, what are you doing? You're feasting and you're not giving me any. And he was like, we have a picture, he's trying to turn his back and keep it hidden. Lord Chaitanya grabbed it and ate it, said, "This is the best prasadam I ever had. Why you're not offering it to me?" So, this intimate pastimes. And Lord Chaitanya told him, never eat opulently and never dress opulently. Bhaktisiddhanta gave us similar to his sannyasis. No foppery. You seen that? Everybody knows what foppery is? Who knows what foppery is? It means like a fancy dresser, a dandy, dresses very, like all the advertisements on the way here from Juhu, for a millionaire and all these shops, you can dress yourself up better than the deities. Foppery. So he told the sannyasis, so I don't know what they were doing, but anyway, Raghunath, he was the most renounced. The other Goswamis, they build a temple, write books, do this, and he told them just, be renounced completely. That was his. So after Lord Chaitanya's disappearance, he thought he couldn't live, he was going to suicide, and feeling that separation, and he thought he would jump off a Govardhan hill. That would be a bona fide. But when he got to Vrindavan, the Raghunath, the Rupa and Sanatan, they told him this is not right. Lord Chaitanya doesn't approve. Sanatan knew from personal experience, Lord Chaitanya did not approve of suicide. He said it's tamasic. He said if suicide would get me to Krishna, I would have, so many suicide I would have done. So Raghunath stayed in Vrindavan. He lived a very, very austere life. He chanted 2 lakhs every day of Mahamantra. He would pay obeisances to 2,000 Vaishnavas. And he would 3 hours a day discourse on the Lord Chaitanya, because he had been intimately associated constantly, because Srup Damodar was always with him. So he witnessed everything Lord Chaitanya did in Puri, and he had notes. And Krishnadas Kaviraj was with him, and that's where he got all his notes, so he could later write the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And even if other Vaishnavas came besides the 2,000, he would embrace them and pay obeisances also. And Prabhupada mentioned one time, there was one devotee living at one bhakta, and he was staying at Radhakund, and devotees were telling Prabhupada they said he was doing parikrama, and Prabhupada said, is he doing Dandavat parikrama? They said no. He said, that's what Raghunath did. He laughed. He said, that's good exercise. So Raghunath, he lived like that. And he wrote a few books. But he was living at Radhakund. He established that tongue of Radhakund temple. And he ate like almost nothing, this much chas, every other day or something like that. And he just chanted all the time and talked about Lord Chaitanya. Raghunath Bhatta, he was the son of Tapan Mishra, so he had the chance to serve Lord Chaitanya when he was a very small child. When Lord Chaitanya stayed at Tapan Mishra's house in Benares. Then later he came to be with Lord Chaitanya for some time in Puri. Lord Chaitanya gave him some specific orders also. One was to take care of his parents, his aging parents. And Prabhupada gives a lot of explanation that because they were Vaishnavas, not that just everybody has to take care of their parents if they're not Vaishnavas. They were great Vaishnavas, so he said, study Srimad Bhagavatam with self-realized souls and never get married. Those were his basic instructions. And after the parents left their body, then go to Vrindavan. So he did that. He studied Srimad Bhagavatam. and took care of his parents. When they left his body, he went to Vrindavan, and his order was to just recite Srimad Bhagavatam. He was expert at reciting Srimad Bhagavatam in different melodies. His voice was like a cuckoo bird, and the other Goswamis would gather together just to listen to him recite Srimad Bhagavatam. So that was his main work. Nice service. Different people get special benedictions. And he was also an expert cook, and Lord Chaitanya would relish his cooking when he was present. So, and then Krishnadas Kaviraj, we know him as the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So he had heard, all this Gaur Leela from Raghunath Das, and then he was still alive, and the Vaishnavas were realizing that he was the only one that really knew all this, about especially Lord Chaitanya's later pastimes. We had Chaitanya Bhagavat, that was mostly earlier pastimes, and also a lot of Nityananda Leela. So they were asking him, please, write it. So being a humble Vaishnava, he didn't feel qualified, but he went to the deity of Madan Mohan to ask permission, and just when he was paying obeisances, garland fell off the deity, and then the pujari offered him that garland, and everybody was very happy to see that. And then he took it, okay, this is the Lord's will. It's something, getting the garland of the deity or the guru, it's mentioned in Chaitanya or in Nectar Devotion, is a very, very auspicious thing. Sometimes now we have so many garlands, we don't take it seriously, but I know when Prabhupada was in Los Angeles, they would save the garland and send it to different temples, and everybody's waiting for it, and so anyway, that was a special sign of the Lord. It's like the garland fell off Lord Jagannath and fell right on Bhaktisiddhanta when he was a baby, and then they understood that's a special benediction. So he took that task of writing this Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is great mercy for us. And he describes, he was very old, crippled. He had arthritis, when you get old and the fingers don't bend properly and crunch up. I remember my mother, she used to type 140 words a minute, and then when she was old, her fingers were just like they wouldn't move, hardly could move them. So you see what happens. So he had that problem. He was shaking. His eyes were very weak, but he said somehow he was writing. Prabhupada explains Krishna's dictating, Krishna's actually doing it. So it's like people talk about channeling and all these things. Prabhupada also would read his own books and say, I want to see what Krishna has written. That I didn't write this. He was speaking, and dictating, but Krishna was doing, and that's if we could fully surrender, then it would be like that. We're not thinking what my, what knowledge I have, or, my education, or my, whatever it is. As Krishna, please speak through me, use me. So he composed the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Prabhupada mentions that it's flawless. He even says in Bhagavatam there's some grammatical defects or a few things, poetic inconsistencies, but the Chaitanya Charitamrita is perfect in every way. So he was able to complete that, make the devotees very, very happy. He wrote a few songs also that we have, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna, 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 Hey. Lord Chaitanya was singing that when he traveled around South India. And that Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan, Krishnadas Kaviraj, a few others. But mainly we're concerned with Chaitanya Charitamrita. Prabhupada gave it great importance. In early Bhakti Godhead, he was advertising a Chaitanya Bhagavat full translation with word for word and everything. But when it came down to it, he decided Chaitanya Charitamrita is more important, because it's giving all the really deep philosophical discourses of Lord Chaitanya with Ramananda Roy, Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, and most like TLC. That's mainly just those things, the deep philosophy that was given by Lord Chaitanya. So Prabhupada, he more or less dropped everything and translated Chaitanya Charitamrita for a couple of years. And he was lecturing on Chaitanya Charitamrita from the very beginning in New York, talking about the Goswamis, and nobody knew what it was, but nobody knew about anything, but he right from the beginning we have the lectures of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So after it was finished, this famous story, we heard something about it yesterday in Juhu. Tamahar Prabhu was giving so much nectar, just small little memories of Prabhupada he had. And when you're just seeing Prabhupada in a little bit of a conversation or something, it had everybody completely enamored. So this Chaitanya, he came to L.A., that BBT had just reorganized and brought everything together, the artist and all the work of the BBT from that was previously spread out. And Ramaswar had brought everything to L.A. and set up offices and high-tech stuff and everything. So, because Prabhupada had been very upset that he was ahead of the printing. His translation was ahead of the printing. And devotees were telling him, we want you to finish the Bhagavatam. He said, why should I? You're not publishing it. You're not distributing it. So they were bragging to Prabhupada that now we can produce a whole nother volume every 2 months. And Prabhupada had the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita already translated, and there were 2 volumes of Bhagavatam, 5th canto or something. And so Prabhupada, he was touring around the BBT. He didn't say much. Then on the morning walk, he said, I want the 17 volumes of Chaitanya Charitamrita finished in 2 months. So they just told him the day before that they could do 1 book in 2 months. And that was supposed to be a big deal, That was a big step up from previous. So the first thing they said was, that's impossible. And Prabhupada, very angry, he said, impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary, and you don't have any faith in the Guru if you can't do this. So they panicked. They went behind the rest of the devotees and started, trying to, I guess, pray to Krishna. What can we do? And they got a lot of ideas, and they finally said, "Okay, we can do it on certain conditions." He said, Prabhupada has to stay in Los Angeles. So whenever there's a question about anything, they can ask him. Otherwise, there was no email, no Skype or anything. Only write a letter, send it. Prabhupada's moving every few days. Sometimes his mail didn't catch up for a month or 2. So they said that would delay too much. So he had to be there. And then any question the editors had, anything, he said, all right. And they said, we can't finish enough paintings. And we have to use photographs. He said, all right. And whatever else, he said, okay. So they went mad, and they got everyone together. We have to do this. It's Prabhupada's order. And the BBT just did a marathon, and that's described in detail in many places. And Ramaswar, he read the whole book first, and he would give classes, reading from it. No one ever heard of it very much before. And everybody was working. The BBT workers hardly left their office. They were sleeping on the desk, waking up, working. The artists were, sometimes 3 or 4 artists did one painting because one would fall asleep, another would come and work on it for a while. So somehow they got it done. One by one, and every time a new volume came, they would go to wherever Prabhupada was, because after a while he was free to leave LA, and they would bring him that book. And finally the last one, maybe 2 or 3, came to Vrindavan, and Prabhupada said yes, but he said, you're like 3 days late or something. But anyway, the Chaitanya Charitamrita came out, and very, very important book. When it first volumes came, one morning walk in Vrindavan, a devotee asked Prabhupada, can we distribute this? It seems like it's supposed to be like, maybe devotees thought it's too high, too elevated. Prabhupada said, yes, of course. Whatever people like, you can give them. So the first one that came out was first Adi Lila chapter 7 through 12 or something. And it was in a big format, 8 by 10 inch. I don't know if you've seen the original Krishna book. And it was really thick, heavy book. It had very big print. It was designed like the first Krishna book that Prabhupada designed. And we were distributing that in the airport, I remember, in Washington, D.C. And it was just phenomenal. People were taking that book, this huge, heavy book, about Lord Chaitanya with the cover pictures. And we were reading it, of course, because we'd never seen it before. And that's the first chapter, chapter 7, where Lord Chaitanya preaches to the Mayavadis and, explains the Harinama, Harinama, Harinama eva kevalam, Kaloanasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva, Gatiranyata. So many wonderful things were there, and, all the associates of Lord Nityananda, the associates of Lord Chaitanya. So we were in ecstasy also. Then, a little bit later, the rest of them started coming one by one. Prabhupada was very, very happy about it. So in 1975 in Mayapur, all the morning classes were Chaitanya Charitamrita also, Adi Lila. You can look those up. Very nectar. Of course, that's Mayapur, Lord Chaitanya's place. So, and Bhaktisiddhanta, a quote was found recently by Madhavananda Prabhu. He said, many people previously read the Bhagavatam, but in order to understand Bhagavatam, you need to read Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we encourage everybody to read it, distribute it. It's available now in many languages. It was Prabhupada, great endeavor he made, and a proof how he can empower devotees to do such incredible things, is to produce, first place, that he could, in the midst of all his traveling and dealing with unlimited problems in ISKCON in the world, because we see now what, things happen, and it was worse then because they're so new, and dealing with all that, giving class every day in every temple he went to, counseling devotees, meeting people, traveling constantly, that he translated so many books. Like, there's many authors now in the bookshop, and they have many books. That's all they do is write, 8-10 hours a day they're writing. But Prabhupada did all these other things and produced such amazing books that have real value, not just some same old story with different names over and over again, but Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. So he gave us, the connection with Raghunath Das, and through him, Krishnadas Kaviraj, and he also, Prabhupada used the commentaries of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Bhakti Vinod for his purports, and then connecting us back through Krishnadas Kaviraj, Raghunath Das Goswami, back to Swarup Damodar, Lord Chaitanya. So it's a very amazing thing. So it is a good day to get mercy and try to understand what is feelings of separation. I know myself, I get feelings of separation from all kinds of stupid things, never from Krishna, a little bit from Prabhupada sometimes. He's, when we try to manage the movement and make decisions, and we know that so many people are not going to agree with our decision. It's not, when Prabhupada was present, if anyone didn't want to agree with Prabhupada, they had to leave. So, either they would agree or pretend to agree, and they wouldn't speak out, that's crazy, we're not going to do that. They would disagree, but they had to come along. So we miss Prabhupada very much that way. But then we have him in all the books and all the recordings and all the memories of so many devotees, so that we have to tap into that and pray we can get these feelings of separation like these Goswamis had, like Narottam had. Narottam, we know he kept trying to meet Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, Dvaita, the Goswamis, and everywhere he went they left just before he got there. So he had such intense feelings of separation. Many times also he was going to suicide. One time the Lord Chaitanya came to him, said, "No, I have work for you." And then Nityananda another time, Rupa and Sanatan, they all said, "Don't do it, we're always here for you." So those intense feelings that we get, at the airport if our baggage is late, or if we can't find our keys or our phone or something, we panic, right? Where is it? Can't think of anything else, right? So it's natural to have these feelings, but we want to get them for Krishna. Separation from, association with devotees. Here is very nice, so many devotees. We're very fortunate now. Bombay is flooded with many, many senior devotees, and working hard to establish, more and more projects go properly so we can effectively spread Krishna consciousness and train people, to be real Vaishnavas, train ourselves to be real Vaishnavas. So we thank you very much for attending here. And we can remember this Govardhan Leela. It's a very, very important Leela also of Krishna. Long, long thing. Krishna, Indra is a great devotee, but he's lusty. So he got envious of Krishna. He wanted to show his power. He couldn't understand that this cowherd boy was, he worshipped Vishnu, but couldn't understand that this is the real origin. So he had to test Krishna. But then he prayed very nicely later. And his apology, and his apology is a great lesson. We hear Mahatma Prabhu was here earlier, but he has his seminars on forgiveness and apologies and all. So many times we apologize, and it's kind of like, let me off the hook so I can do it again. I know you're merciful and kind, and you won't hold it against me that I'm a nonsense. So this kind of apology is common in the world. Abusive people, forgive me, I'll never do it again, and take advantage of the other person's mercy. But Indra said, "Krishna, I know you will forgive me because that's your nature, but please give me intelligence that I won't be so stupid again." That's the real thing. And then, try to be good after that. So he's teaching. Then he gave so much, he understood Krishna. He woke up and he glorified Krishna like anything. And there was no damage. By Krishna's mystic power, the flood receded and everything was not like now. When there's a flood, afterwards it's total disaster, But everything was nice. Everything was better than before. That's Krishna. So it really happened, but at the same time, it's like illusion. They weren't really in the material world. They're not really suffering. But Krishna arranges these things, the demons coming and all these things, to intensify their dependence on love for Krishna. And their panic, when they think Krishna's in danger. then they pray to Vishnu to save Krishna. So there's a lot to be learned from the Bhagavatam. So thank you all very much. I know we see progress. I came here back at one of the very beginning time when they were using this room. I don't know if they have pictures of it, but it was really a dump. Now it's changed so much, you know. And the ashram was, I think I went down there, I think you couldn't stand up straight in whatever the ashram, bump your head, and things were really, you know, but devotees were really determined, and by the emphasis Radhanath Swami gave on the people, on the devotees, caring for devotees and strict sadhana, you know, everything changes. It's almost like Kapila Muni just creating that palace, flying palace, but, you know, by the desire of the devotees. And Juhu, I was there when that first opened. I wasn't there during the building of it, but the building was nice, but not very many people were coming. Everything was chaos. The Chandan Sinam every night had a big queue in the temple, and hardly anybody came. And now the temple's mobbed every night, and the Chandan Cinema, I don't know, it's still there, but never see anybody. So things change. By the devotees, you know, sincerity and just having an ecstatic program all the time and kirtan, people start to realize this is really a great place, and they bring their friends. So that's what we're trying to, you know, establish all these standards. The GBC working with hundreds of devotees from all over the world to, you know, bring everything up and up and up to make, you know, the millions of temples. Now Bombay has 3 or 4, Delhi has, but we need much more active, you know, and Sankirtan parties everywhere, not only in India but the whole world, so people know us. We were very famous in the 70s because there were so many brahmacharis out on Harinam every day. Now, many Harinam, there's no brahmacharis, you know, many people in regular clothes. So people don't really get the idea that it's some kind of a spiritual thing coming from another planet, you know. They just think it's some guys having a ball. But still the holy name is being distributed. And that's the thing, just keep distributing the holy name, distribute the books, make more temples, make temples in every house, and we will take over the world. That was our talk in Prabhupada's time. Now many people feel like the world's taking us over, but it's difficult. Kali Yuga is, you know, really intensifying. But the Kali Yuga also includes the spreading of Lord Chaitanya's movement. That's also going on in huge ways all over the world. Russia just had that festival. In Ukraine, 11,000 devotees. That's not just like the Woodstock festival, there's all karmis coming, but there's 11,000 only devotees coming. You know. And then another one in the Black Sea was 3 or 5 or 6,000 or so. So all over the world it's happening, and we want to be part of it, and we want to be into it, you know, because then we get the real mercy. And depend on Krishna and see what can be done. St. Francis said, if I can be used, and if the Lord can use me, He can use anybody. The humble. So the same thing for me. Anybody can, you know, of course anybody that goes on books that they're giving so many classes every day, everyone they talk to, and we see how they get empowered to bewilder people and make them take books even when they don't want them, and it's Krishna is doing everything. So Radha Gopinath ki jai, Shri Gopalji ki jai, Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai, Gaur Bhaktivedanta ki, Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Raghunath Das Goswami ki, Raghunath Bhatt Goswami ki, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki. Okay, any question? Wow. Everything is late here. Long class. Okay, Hare Krishna. I'm very late for my meeting, so not too bad. Thank you very much.